What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Hey Babe, Can We Talk? With me, your host and bestie, Drea Reene. If this is your first time here, welcome. This is the place where the hot mess expresses the black sheeps of love. And for those who just can't seem to get it right when it comes to matters of the heart, I am you, you are me, we are one. And if no one else gets you, I do. I am a relationship survivor and I've done everything wrong, so let me help you do it right. And if you are returning, I missed you. And we're going to have a great episode. On today's episode, we have the Love Addict coach, Geena Lovato. She is amazing, you guys. But before we get into that, make sure you hit that like, follow, subscribe, and comment down below because I love to hear from you. So let's get into it with Geena Lovato.
Hi.
Geena, oh my God. I am so excited that you were here. Guys, I have wanted Geena on the show since I thought of this show. First of all, congratulations on the Love Addict TikTok, all the things.
Thank you.
Talk to me about how you thought about all that, how that came into fruition and all the things.
Mm-hmm. Well, before we even start, I just want to say, I'm so proud of you. And, I think you're such a badass. I'm just watching you, good for you. I'm just so happy for you. And you're, radiating.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome.
We've known each other for a very long time. We met at a crazy time in our lives and we totally connected over insane stuff. And now here we are today. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah, so to answer your question, it was kind of the midst of COVID. Everything was shut down. I was in my apartment with my now husband and my boyfriend at the time. And I just got, I've always been interested in dating and relationships and sort of experimenting in my own life and seeing what works and what doesn't work. I read a lot of books. I'm constantly imbibing things. I have a really good memory, so I'll remember where I read something, who said it. And so I kind of out of boredom or just wanting to share or figure out what the heck I was doing with my life was I'm just going to start making TikTok videos and posting stuff.
Yeah.
And it just did really well. And like I said, I wasn't really working at the time because everything was shut down. So I just made a lot of videos and was posting a lot and on social media a lot.
Yeah. And you talk about love addiction. Was there any fear around bringing that topic out? Because people hear addict, and I even struggled with that at some of my older content that I was doing, to put the word addict, addiction in anything and how that would be received. What was that like for you?
Not really. My family always made fun of me and was you love to air dirty laundry. That's me. I'm vulnerable. I want to tell you all of it. So if anything, I have to pull it back a little bit.
Girl, ain't that the truth? I tell people everything. People will watch this show and they're like, Drea, I literally cannot believe you said that. And I'm I'm just saying what everyone's thinking.
Right.
Honestly.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah. So on one sense, more so for me being public about it was more so is someone going to be love addiction doesn't exist, or just people being who are you you're not a doctor, So it was mostly those sort of imposter syndrome things. Cause I'm very sensitive. So I sort of internalize stuff.
What's your sign, Geena?
I'm a Gemini. I'm the first day of Gemini. So I'm kind of cusp with the end of Taurus.
Okay. I did not know that. I think I did know that. I definitely asked you when we met because I ask everyone. I'm what's your sign? But yeah, okay. And what's your husband?
He's a Leo. His birthday's coming up. Yeah.
Okay.
He's pretty classic. He can be shy, but when alone, he's pretty classic Leo. He just thinks he's the best at everything.
Like J-Lo. We were just talking about J-Lo. J-Lo is a Leo. I don't know what Ben is, but J-Lo is definitely a Leo for sure.
That's funny. Maybe a Gemini. I can see some similarities.
Ben definitely probably has a little Gemini in his chart, right? We should find out. Guys, comment down below if you know. Okay, and so what was that? And when you started the Love Addict TikTok, were you guys together at that point?
We were together. Okay. Yeah, we had probably been together for almost a couple years, and it was before we got engaged when I started it, but we were already living together.
Oh. And what was that process like getting together? We're here to talk about anxious attachment style, guys, and the fear of being in a real healthy relationship. And so how we met, coming from the program and all of that, what was that like meeting someone who, I don't know what it was like in the beginning, but eventually became available and in a healthy relationship?
Mm-hmm. Honestly, it was one of the first times that anyone had really been consistent with me and was asking me out 2 days in advance.
What?
And I know, wild.
He made plans. It wasn't the day of.
Exactly. Oh, okay. It wasn't what are you doing later tonight?
What, WYD.
Yeah, exactly. And I'd gotten a little taste of it, kind of right. Oh, sorry, I hit this thing. you know, in the months prior, but it still was really a really new concept for me to be like, oh, okay, go with the guys that are asking you out on dates. Like, you know, it was really green. I was really green still.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I got lucky with kind of like my turnaround with like applying different concepts and principles and approaching dating differently. It happened for me pretty quickly, which I know it doesn't always happen for people that way. So yeah, like he showed up, like he pursued me. He picked the places he wanted to go.
He pursued me. Pause. Okay, let me write that down. Don't pursue them.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay,
right.
continue.
Like number one, like rule number one, don't chase them. Like don't pursue them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So even on the apps, like right into it was like, what brings you to the app? You know, and he mentioned being in a relationship, which obviously sometimes they do. And like and then later they don't, you know, like that happens. That's not always like the green flag that you think it is. But like he just continued to keep showing up. And really that's like how it happened was, you know, this sort of long-term negotiating of like, I want to live together, you know, I want to get married. Like I want to have kids, you know, and being really like forthcoming with those things. And just having it unfold and not having it end, really.
And he stayed that way from the beginning. And coming from where you come from, what was that like for you, that experience of someone showing up? Was there fear around that? Is this going to leave? Is he going to abandon me? Is this real? What was that experience like?
Yes. I mean, that's always going to be there. Like that's always going to be kind of underneath things, right? That fear of abandonment. And sometimes it came up more than other times, but I will, like something I've always said for my anxious attachment girlies is like,
hey, shout out to them. Hey.
Yeah, it's a dynamic. So yes, part of it is my responsibility and like that fear is within me, but also like picking a person that can be reassuring is like, it just makes it so much easier, because if I bring my insecurity or my fear and then someone's like, well, that's you, like I'm not dealing with that, like it just escalates the whole thing. So I will say like consistency calms my nervous system.
Say it louder for the people in the back. And that is okay. Okay? Thank you.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, there were times where I was nervous, but like we just talk about stuff and he doesn't make me feel bad about things that I'm anxious about.
I mean, I'm like, can he do a TED Talk for the men? You know what I'm saying? Can he do a little something? He should come on Hey Babe, Can We Talk? Because it's like, I think that's such a common thing where men hear any sort of anything. I just said hello. It's like, why are you saying hello like that? You're just like, what? I'm just breathing. Let me breathe. You know what I mean? And any sort of like, hey, I feel, and they're immediately shut down. You know, I saw the video about the earring on your wedding day, and I thought that was so beautiful that he was like on his phone and like, oh, let me figure it out. I had to watch that a couple times. I was like what is happening here? Tell us a little bit about that video for those who haven't seen it.
Yeah, so basically what had happened, it actually wasn't our wedding day.
Oh,
it doesn't
I thought you
matter.
were wearing a white dress.
No, I mean, I was wearing a white dress, but it was...
okay, I thought it was the wedding day.
Yeah, basically someone had gifted me an earring, and it was like, I think it was a Korean earring, and I like had like a ball on the back, and I was looking it up, and even I was looking it up. I couldn't get the thing off. And you know, I expressed like, I don't know how this works. And I was trying to like explain it to him.
Yeah.
And, you know, we're always on our phones. And so there's times where I look and he's on his phone and I'm like, he's not even listening to me. Like that happens. But in that particular instance, I looked and he was like looking it up and trying to like problem solve. And I think that that's like kind of a masculine quality that some guys have and some guys don't exhibit. And like that has been something that has really been helpful to me to sort of embrace my husband's like, I don't know what the word is. Like he just wants to be a problem solver. Like he's constantly problem solving. So.
And how does that show up in your relationship? There's a lot of talk right now around the masculine and feminine energy. Were you privy to that before you got married? Because for me, I did not think about any of these things until the last 2 years. I had a relationship a year ago that kind of brought that stuff, excuse me, up for me. And I never thought about walking into a relationship being an alpha female or masculine. And I didn't think about any of that. I was just like, I'm Drea. It is what it is. I'm gonna say what I want to say. You know, and then I started thinking about these dynamics of like you said, men being problem solvers and women being, agreeable or whatever the hell, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I could take it down a notch, I suppose. You know what I mean? And I remember my mom would say about one of my exes to let a man be a man. And I would get really irritated about that. So we were putting a piece of furniture together. And I think you can learn a lot about your partner and yourself when someone's doing, and I'm a micromanager. I'm like, well, if you just, but let me see. Okay. And my mom's like, leave him alone. He can do it. And I'm like, well, I just don't know. I need to check. You know what I mean? And I had to back up. And that was really hard for me. And I would sit on the thing after and I'm like, all right, I guess you did a good job. Thank you.
Oh my God, it's hilarious. Like, it hasn't fallen apart yet.
I mean, I guess so. Whatever.
I guess I can sit here.
I know. But trusting in someone, I realized, was something I struggled with because I think you do have to have faith and trust in that person to kind of sit back and let them do or just exist and be an adult.
Yeah.
I'm like, let me do it. You know what I mean? So how did that show up for you?
Yeah. First, I want to say, like, I totally believe we should all be allowed to be ourselves, right? And be loud or honest, like whatever qualities we have that, maybe the feminine idea will tell you to suppress. So like, I really think like you can't mess it up, right? Like if you're supposed to be with someone, you're supposed to be with them. Like there's 100 times I've done things like disrespectful to my husband that like in the 4.5 years we've been together that like, he totally could have been like, I don't want a person like that. You know what I mean? Like I didn't do everything perfectly. I did it imperfectly. But I'm always trying to make progress. So with that, known that like everyone should be able to be themselves.
You can't say the wrong thing to the right person.
Yes.
I truly believe that. I truly believe that.
So I will say like at some point, the thing I like about, I know there's a lot of aspects to the masculine, feminine, but one of the things I like is, this idea of the feminine, we talk about our feelings, right? So like I'm self-centered, I'm go inward, I'm internally focused. And my husband naturally is a thinking person. He's in his head, he's thinking opinions, logic, and I have that too, right? Like I have those things too. But for me, what I've chosen is to like prioritize my feelings. And so I communicate my feelings and I ask him his thoughts and opinions. And so there's going to be times where like I have a thought, I have an opinion,
right?
And I'm allowed to express those things, right? But I think that's where we have to learn how to navigate it, because at some point, if you're with someone for a long time, it's easier for him to be thinking, right? It's not easy for him to be feeling. And he does express his feelings to me at times. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm switching now. Like he expressed a feeling now, like, let me think about it. And but what I'm trying to say is, at some point, if he's thinking and I'm thinking, we're battling over our thoughts and opinions, and there's space for that. But this hilarious like chair thing, it's like at the end of the day, like, was it worth it? Like, was it worth it to write about this chair? And there's bigger things, right? Like obviously when you're married, like there's money, there's kids, like there's things that need to be talked about and negotiated. But I like to use the car. A lot of women that I like, books and women that I listen to talking about being married will use the example of being in a car, right? Like the man is driving and you're physically in the car, and like it's really easy to be like, oh my God, like you're going too fast, you just went through this red light. You know what I mean? Like, there's actual danger involved, but also like you're safe, like you're fine. Can you just demonstrate trust and like zip the lip? Like, no,
zip the lip.
I'm great. Like,
my mom would always say, know when to pick your battles. And I've only lived with one of my exes, and I didn't really understand that concept until I lived with someone, because I was so used to, you go to their house, they come to your house, you guys separate, you're kind of living these different lives. But I remember I think it was the 4th time I came home and I was like, you're still here? And he's like, well, Drea, we live together. And I was like, okay, and I started to learn, like, I don't need to nitpick at every single thing, because I ultimately want harmony, right? Like I don't need to say, because it's like, oh, I could make an issue about something, but then I leave and I go home, we reset, we see each other in a couple of days. But when they're there every single day, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta like, this is not a big issue. You know what? It doesn't matter. If he added too much salt to the freaking, shrimp pasta we made, it's gonna be okay. I don't need to make a thing about this. But I had to learn that, because it was, I will say something about everything. About everything. And then I was like, zip the lip. I love that. Zip the lip.
Yeah.
It sounds like your husband has done the work. Is that correct? Has he done the work?
You know, I really think he's just one of those lucky people. Like, don't get me wrong, like he has his stuff, but
course.
and I hate that I can be really tough on parents and family dynamics because I'm interested in that kind of stuff. I really think like his parents are together. They've been together for a really long time, and like I think they just like raised him in a way that like made him feel secure and probably like valued his thoughts and opinions, and like the way that he functions is like he takes care of a lot of people. He takes care of his family, his parents. Like he like wants to make sure that they're provided for, and that's just the nature. And I think that was probably just being like raised by good people.
Yeah.
And yeah, to be honest, like I learn a lot from him. Like I will get activated.
Beautiful.
Yeah, like I get activated, and when I get activated, all my tools are gone. Like I don't remember them.
Amnesia.
Yeah,
It's
but
like, what?
he will be like, you know, do you need a hug? Like, are you hungry? Like sometimes he literally has to like treat me like
Halt.
I'm like, yeah,
Hungry,
exactly.
lonely, tired.
Exactly. Like, and I don't know, like he just kind of instinctually does those things.
I think that is so beautiful. And I'm not saying that dynamic has to work for everyone, but I know for me, I agree with you. I feel the partner that I see myself with is somebody like that. And one of the best relationships I was ever in was with a person that was able to kind of calm me when I was in my rage cage. He's like, Drea. And I'm like, you know what I mean? He's like, why don't we take a breath? I'm going to get you a sandwich. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. You know what I mean? And everything kind of turned around. But when I've been with men that matched that energy, made me feel bad, told me I was crazy, even if I was being a kookadoo, that's fine.
Yeah.
But having that partner that can kind of not be a doormat, because I don't want people to hear that and say you have to have somebody that's babysitting you.
Right.
But listen, you know, as a woman, emotions, things, menstrual cycles, all the things, like, girl, I be flying high and I don't even know that I'm there. And I got to come back down to earth, and I apologize in a week or so.
Yeah.
But I will. You know, I'll get there. But having a partner that can kind of be like, I love her. She's being a kook, and it's okay. It's fine. Because I think on some level in relationships, everybody has the ability to go to that intense place. But having someone that understands that and is like, at her core, at their core, this is a great relationship, and I'm going to love them through whatever this moment is a beautiful thing.
For sure.
Right? So let's talk anxious attachment style. You have the video where you give the qualifiers of being, if you're in an anxious attachment.
Okay.
And by the way, when I watched this video, I went like this. Oh my God. Not that I don't already know that, but it was just like listening to it was really interesting. So let's talk about that. The first one you said was, do you seek out being in a relationship? So we're going to talk about anxious attachment style, guys. Let's get into it.
Yeah. So that doesn't even have to be a bad thing, right? I think like that specific sentence is kind of opposed with the avoidant who doesn't always seek out relationships, right? Like usually they sort of find themselves in one like on accident. So, you know, there doesn't even have to be a negative connotation to that. But I will add a layer, and this is a little bit different. This is like more about love addiction. But for me, love addiction, like seeking out a relationship was like a life strategy, you know, like that element of romance. And I grew up on that. Like I was in so much pain as a kid that like the movies and the fantasy of like being with someone and being loved, like, so in that sense, in the love addiction sense, it can have a little bit of like a negative connotation of like, let's work on that. But in terms of anxious attachment, it's just something that you want. It's just something that you, and there's not anything bad about that.
And not to circle back to J-Lo, but to circle back to J-Lo. Hey, girl. In her documentary, and it's
Not J-Lo coming for us.
J-Lo, I know she might. That's okay. Let's get some views. But she says in her documentary, like they asked her what she wanted to be when she grew up, and she goes, in love. And I was like, I so relate to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's sort of what we're talking about with the anxious attachment style, where being in a relationship is all consuming.
Yeah.
It is all you think about, the romance, the love. And I love love. I mean, when I went to Paris, I saw this older couple that was like silver foxes making out on the corner. And I think I stood there for about 10 minutes.
Good for them.
It got a little weird for me. And I was like, I probably should get going. But I was just like, look at them going for it. And who knows what their situation is. And it took me a long time to not glamorize every single time I saw someone holding hands, looking at each other googly-eyed. Like, I don't know what their history is, because there's many times I've been with people that were total insane people, narcissists, gaslighting me, and we're holding hands and I'm skipping down the street. and we're about to get into a fight in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
So you don't know what people are going through.
Exactly.
But this idea that like I need to be connected to someone to feel alive is what we're talking about.
Right.
Okay, so number 2 is, oh wait, did I just lose it? Okay. Fear of abandonment versus if the person is wrong for you. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, that's kind of the eternal question. It's tough because when especially if you're anxiously attached, we're in a relationship, let's say things aren't going well, I'm feeling needy, I'm feeling insecure, I'm noticing, maybe someone is pulling away from me. I notice it all the time. It's like my biggest, not even a pet peeve, I just feel so bad. Like the anxious girl will make it about her. Like, I'm too needy. I'm too anxious. Like, I just need to get it together. Like, I just need to figure this shit out. And I just want to be like, it's not you. Like, maybe a little bit, but mostly like you probably really are sensing that this person is pulling away from you or not available for you in some way that you really need.
Right.
So, it's hard when you're in it. Like it's totally normal to be wondering like, is this the right person for me? Or, is this my own fear of abandonment that's sabotaging things? But I would say a majority of the time, like if it's chronic, it's probably more than just your fear. Like it might be your fear of abandonment that's keeping you there, or it might be your fear of abandonment that made you pick that specific person, because it's a picker thing too.
It's a picker thing. If I hear that one more time, Geena, I mean, Drea, you got to fix your picker. I'm like, I'm working on it. But I wish that you could see energy when you meet someone and what attracts you to that person versus somebody who's readily available where you're like, nope. I'm like, ooh, are you unavailable? And this energy just, and I get it. It's childhood trauma, all these things, how you grew up, modeling that you saw that kind of gets you. And then it's for that person too, what attracts them to you. Mm-hmm. And when you said, you do feel someone pulling away. And if you do have these issues of being an anxious attacher, it's hard to kind of navigate the line of, okay, this person is pulling away and I want to talk about it. And then you do talk about it and that person gaslights you. It makes you feel crazy. Then you're like, am I? Because in my past but I'm trying to show up differently. And so this is an interesting one for me, because if I feel any shift, and I'm always very clear with the men that I date. Now listen, if you want to show up in a certain way, I'm down, right? Like, just let me know how it is that you normally communicate. But if you're calling me every day, you're checking in every day, and then all of a sudden you don't, why am I crazy for thinking something is wrong? Now, it's not a day it changes. I'm saying something. A couple weeks of change. No good morning texts. You're texting me at 4 p.m. You were texting me at 5 a.m. Like, yes, I'm going to think what is going on.
Right.
And that is not unreasonable.
Right.
Okay? It's not unreasonable.
Yeah.
Right?
I agree.
Thank you, Geena. The Love Addict coach said it here. I'm not a kookadoo. Thank you. Okay, number 3. The pick me energy. Do they like me and I don't even like them? Whoa. So profound for me, because this was something I struggled with forever, where it's like, I don't even know if I like this person. I remember when my therapist stopped me with this guy I was seeing, and she's like, do you like him? And I was like, how is that relevant? You know what I mean? I'm like, I need him to like me.
Right.
That's it.
It becomes so much more about having the person or getting them to like you. And I really think it is such a process of getting to know someone. Like, I know there's different instances where sometimes you work with someone or sometimes you're a friend. But in my circumstance, I didn't know my husband. I just met him on an app.
Oh, so yeah. I was going to say, how'd you guys meet?
Yeah, we met on Hinge. So it was just fresh. And 6 months in, I was learning things about him that I didn't know. Like, it really does take a year to really get to know someone. I also this was before I met my husband, one of my last big qualifiers. We worked together and we were friends for 2 years. And so we would flirt at work, and eventually, I wanted to be in a relationship. And I remember calling my sponsor and being like, I know him. We've worked together for 2 years. We're friends. No,
girl.
As soon as we got into a relationship, it was it was hell. It was really bad.
Because it's being friends with someone is one thing. Being in a relationship with someone is a whole other thing, a whole other energy thing. You know what
just
I mean?
Because you're friends with someone for 2 years, it does not mean that you really know who they are or how they're going to show up in a relationship.
No, you do not.
Yeah.
And so this energy that people show up with in this anxious attachment style, I think this is something to really pay attention to, of stop thinking about, do they like you?
Yeah.
And do you actually like them and do you know them?
The other element of that, I think, bringing it back to the femininity thing of what I was saying earlier, is like being self-centered and like starting from the energy that you have like inside yourself first, and asking yourself, is this person showing up the way that I'm expecting them to? Like, did he ask me out on a date, you know, two days ahead of time and like tell me where we were going to go and tell me what time we were going to meet there or pick me up or whatever? Like those sort of things I think can steer away from like, oh, well, he said like, let's go get drinks at 11 p.m., you know, like,
right.
Like, no, that actually doesn't work for me, and saying no to certain things that like you don't want.
And that is
I don't
so
want
hard
to go
to do.
To have drinks with someone at 11 p.m. for
Right.
our first date, you know?
And I think people get caught up in the energy of he's hot, or what if nobody else talks to me? And if you're on the dating apps, it is atrocious. It is absolutely atrocious. And when you connect with someone, finally, there's all these steps to go through when you're dating online to get to where you are married, right?
Yeah.
To meet the person. Do they look like themselves? Are we connected? Am I attracted to them? And then it's like to think, now I got to tell this guy I actually don't want to meet at this time. I don't want to seem combative. I don't want to seem like I'm doing too much.
Yeah.
And all these things.
It's hard.
But you have to set the boundary.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Because that energy that you take in the beginning is what will continue throughout the relationship.
100%.
Okay. The iPad died, so we're moving to the phone.
Oh, okay.
Okay, number 4, conceal your real needs because you don't want to come off clingy and needy. And you want to be the cool girl, which I think this is something where like, I never claim to be cool. I tell everyone from the beginning, I'm not chill. I'm not cool. I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to be Drea. I'm going to be Drea. Like I pulled back the energy. It's not a 10. I'm like around a 7 right now. But like, I'm going to tell you how I feel.
Yeah.
Right. And if you take that as Drea's coming on too strong, I'm just not the person for you.
Right.
So talk to me about that.
Yeah, I think like at the end of the day, it's better to be honest and like look like an idiot for sharing your feelings than it is to like be white knuckling it. Like, okay, I have to close my mouth and like not say something. You know what I mean? Like, what goes back to what we were saying at the beginning, that like you can't really mess it up. So I do personally try and sort of navigate conversations in a really specific way, you know, whether it's like focusing on my feelings, or like Dr. Pat Allen talks about like making an appointment. So like, let's say for instance, my husband and I are both at home like all day. He works from an office in his house. So it's so easy for me to walk inside and be like, hey, can you like do? And like, I don't know what he's doing. Like he's in the middle of something, right?
Like, hello.
Yeah, exactly. Like just, and so it'd be really easy for me to be like, he's not paying attention to me, you know?
Yeah.
I forgot what I was even talking about.
Making an appointment.
Make an appointment.
Yeah.
So like, let's say I want to talk to him about like money or something, right? Like, hey, I have something like maybe uncomfortable that I want to talk to you about. Like, when would be a good time? Like, hopefully today.
This is so healthy.
And like that's another, for me, like scripting is really easy. Like there's like Dr. Pat Allen uses a lot of scripting. Nonviolent communication uses a lot of scripting. And I know people, like when I've coached people hate the scripts, but like I really urge people to sort of like be willing and like just try it out. And like, you don't have to sound like a robot. Like most of the time when I say stuff to my husband, he doesn't even know that I'm saying, like, he doesn't know that I like learned this in a Dr. Pat Allen book. Like he's just like, yeah, like right now it's good. You know, like 98% of the time, like right now is good. It's not like he, like my past relationships, right? Where if I would have said that, would have been like, well, I'm really busy and I'm like on my way to work and like, let's talk in 2 days, you know, like.
So I can let you stew and be tortured.
Right, exactly.
For 2 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And that, I relate to all these things. Obviously my fingers were gone at the end, at the end of this, but it's like that feeling of having something happen where they didn't call you for 2 days and everyone's like, just be cool. Don't say anything. You're like, hello. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, what's up?
Yeah.
And you're like dying inside. You're on the phone with your girlfriends, you know, 18 hours a day trying to figure this thing out.
Yeah.
And they're just like, well, don't seem clingy and needy. And I'm like, well, what the fuck were you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's okay
gonna
to
come
ask.
out. Like I've not found a way to like not do that, you
Girl.
know?
And it will come out. Even I've noticed like with men that I was trying to be cool with in the beginning, later on, you know, we're together for a year and I'm like, hey, remember at the beginning of us seeing each other when you like disappeared for 2 days? Like, where were you? It's like, what? I'm like, yeah, week 3, October 19th.
That is literally me. That is literally me. Like,
remember this? There was like a delay in communication.
Never forget.
Like, what happened? No, I know you love me now, so I just want to I want to know. You know, like,
yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay, so our last one. Oh, this one. I remember my therapist said this one to me. I was like, say what now? Your inability to self-soothe. Oh my gosh. I always needed some outside source to try to make myself feel better.
Yeah.
If I had my pillars and my friends, and if these people did not answer the phone, oh my God.
No.
It's panic attack time. I'm like, well, I'm going to die, guys. Like, you need to leave work now. He did not text me. I need your help. You know what I mean?
Totally. I love that was the last one because for me, I'm still learning that. Like, that is still like an ongoing process. I think it's so hard to do. I think calling people is great. I also think like it's hard to put, to make other people your higher power or to like be reliant on other people because there's going to be time, even your best friends, they're not going to be available. So like, I really sort of like preventative things. Like I have a morning practice, I pray, I meditate, I journal, I work out. Like I'll go to Barry's and run 2 miles on a treadmill. Like, you know what I mean? Like I do a lot of things outside of like the activated trigger zone. Because I want to do my best to like emotionally regulate and prepare if those things were to happen. So then like I said, doing something when you're actually activated is so difficult to do. I feel like it's a muscle you really have to build because if you're not practiced at it, when you get activated and you go above that line, like everything is out the window.
Everything's out the window.
So it's easier said than done, but practical things like, I know everyone says breathing, but it really it really is so true.
Yeah.
I just started EMDR, so like there's like the bilateral tapping things is like so helpful. Like I do this like so much when I meditate now, and there's something like so calming about it.
Okay.
And also like the sort of there's so many things, but most of the time they have to be physical, right? Like it can be anything that's gonna get me like back into my body. So like my breathing is a little short, like I'm a little out of breath. Okay, so like my shoulders are like kind of hunched up and just noticing, right? And like getting back into the body.
Yeah.
Those things I think are really helpful.
Yeah, my therapist always talks about like, where is it happening in your body? And you're so right about when you're activated, because I was activated about a couple weeks ago. And, I still think the thing and I think I'm going to do the thing, but I pick up the phone, I go to a meeting or I'll try to do something else or I'll trick myself. I'm like, okay, I'll do it tomorrow. And if I still want to do this thing tomorrow, then I'll do it. Right. But the de-escalation of the emotions, I'm so grateful that I am so much better than that now. But back in the day, that impulse, thought, done, I'm doing it. I text him, I sent it. And it's like, Drea, what? I'm going by his house. I don't care. He needs to talk to me.
Yes.
I don't care. Like, get out of the car. I'm like, I know I'm going out of the car to go to his house. Like, I agree with you, know? And I'm like, I would think it, do it, done.
Yeah.
But now I think it, I pause.
Yeah.
I take a breath. I make a phone call.
Yes.
And the thing is, the thoughts still kind of freaking ring up there, and it feels so good. And it is amazing what your brain can think that you're doing. I will go into full fantasy, and I'm there, and he runs outside. He's like, I missed you. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah.
Unannounced.
Yes. That's hilarious.
That's not how that happens.
No.
That is not how that happens. But yeah, that ability to self-soothe is something I am so grateful for now, because an Epsom salt bath can change a whole lot of things. Just get in the bath. My mom would say, get yourself a new comforter set, light a candle, and take a bath. She would always say that. My mom has like 60 comforter sets in her closet. Because
I love
all
that.
moments of her just resetting herself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's so beautiful.
It kind of comes back to that like being a child thing, right? Or like even an inner child. Like that's something that like if I had a kid, right, I would be like, okay, let's get in like a comfy bed or like let's go take a bath. Like doing those things. I take a bath every night. Like I'm trying to be, it's a long story, but basically like sponsor direction. Like I take a bath every night. And so for like the past 3 nights, like I've taken a bath every single night and I sleep better. Cause when I don't take a bath, I will wake up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and be awake from like 3 to 5. So yeah, like just figuring out what works for you. It's going to be different for everybody. So it's like an experiment.
Yeah, and it's such a loving thing to do. And as cliche as this is to say, you know, I've heard it for many years throughout the program, throughout, you know, people just saying it, all that love and energy you want to give to that other person to give to yourself. And it's such a simple thing to say. And trust me, I hate hearing it sometimes. I'm like, okay, relax. I'm still going over there, you know, but you want to give it to yourself. And that's something that you can do. Go on a walk. Sometimes just simply getting some sunshine on your face and walking around your neighborhood can shift your whole perspective.
Yeah.
Right?
It's so much as like in the pause, like you were saying, even if you're still thinking about it, you know what I mean? Even if you're just like really trying to sit on your hands and like not send that text or like not get in the car, like really, sometimes it takes hours, sometimes it takes like a couple days, but I guarantee you like you will feel different in like 48 hours, you know?
100%. Thank you so much for being here, Geena.
Thanks for having me.
So amazing. Before I let you go, I want to ask you, just like, you're married now.
I am.
And so when things come up for you, because it's not a matter of like, oh, he didn't text me back, he's not showing up. You know, what tools do you use specifically to kind of continue getting through these moments? Because we are still who we are, whether we're married, we're not married, whatever. And those things change. But how does that show up for you today? And what tools do you use?
Yeah, I will say I'm pretty lucky in that like my partner is also really familiar with like Gottman method. So we like have like a structured like meeting type that we're educated in. So like, you know, it solves so many problems. And honestly, the hardest part is finding someone that is gonna be like, sure, yeah, let's do it. Like, what do I do? You know, like that is the hardest part, but it's so invaluable because so many of our problems don't exist because he's like, he's the one that's like, do you want to do a Gottman? I'm not kidding you because
the show's over. I'm leaving. I'm not doing the show anymore. It's canceled. It's over.
Because I'm the one that's like, you know? So yeah, but in regards to like just things I do, you know, like I do a lot of stuff, but I do it because I have to, you know, I pray, I meditate, I take a bath every single night. I go to berries. I go to yoga on the weekends. Like I go to meetings. I have a sponsor. I have sponsees. Like I do that stuff because I will show up. I will call up my boyfriend that I haven't talked to in 6 years and be like, hey, I'm married now, but like,
hello,
you know what I mean? Like that is in there somewhere. It's not constantly plaguing me. Like it's not something that's threatening my marriage, but like, if I stopped doing all the stuff, like I guarantee you, like that would come out.
Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate you, and I'm so happy that you came on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Geena. All right, guys, thank you so much for lending me your ear. As always, do not forget, this is the place for the hot mess expresses, the black sheeps of love, and for those who just can't seem to get it right. You guys, thank you so much. I am so happy that Geena was here. Make sure you leave a comment down below, click follow, and I will see you guys next time. This is Hey Babe, Can We Talk? Bye.